All right, guys. So we're about 5 minutes past the hour. This is normally the time that I like to kind of start and roll through with our AMAs. Got a good amount of people through, so this is going to be a good one. Frank, I'm really excited. I appreciate you coming through again. I'm excited. This is our second AMA that we've had. The first one that we had was a blast. It went for like 2.5 hours of nonstop questions and just talking and having a good time. So I'm excited to kind of catch up and see, how things have been since the last time we talked.
Great to be here, and thank you for having me back. Well, not a lot has been happening, and since I left, because the markets are pretty turbulent, but we're ever so closer to the game beta, as I talked about last time. So right now, our marketplace, the ability to trade our own NFTs has opened up, so players can trade their NFTs or buy or sell or send their NFTs via our own website. And to couple with the launch of this website and also the coming game demo, we are doing an airdrop. So anyone who registers their email with our marketplace will be able to get this solar fragment. It's the first half of our battle pass demo, the battle pass for the demo, and the in order to access our battle demo, you need one of two of these things. Um, you need to get the solar fragment. Oh my god, I'm so tired. My mind is all over the place. But anyway, let me focus back on the question. To play the demo, you need to get the battle demo pass. The first half is the solar fragment, with which you get by registering an email in our marketplace. The second half, the lunar fragment, can be obtained in our community by doing certain contributions, chatting around, doing some memes, participate in some games, or you can join the collab events, such as these AMAs that we host regularly, and participating, asking questions, or contributing. And those who we select will get some lunar fragments as well. You can combine the solar and lunar fragments in our website to form the battle pass. Those who hold the battle pass will be entitled to play the game for an hour. That's an hour's playtime only in the actual stages, not during manual selection or other stuff. And of course, if you want to play more, you'll have to own more than one, or you can own one of our primeval planets. Our primeval planet holders can access the battle demo indefinitely, so they can play as much as they want. While those who do not own our planets and do not wish to buy or don't have the capital to buy but still wish to play, they can try to go for these battle passes, which is what we're trying to do a little marketing with these days. And the idea is that the battle demo is an experience, as a chance for a lot of the players to get a taste of what Apeiron battle looks like. It's one of the two core mechanics of Apeiron. There's the battle and there's the planet simulation. This is the battle, which is the core balance of the future gameplay. And so we'll be testing it. We want to the world to enjoy it and get some feedback. To couple with the game demo, we're going to do some quite several events. Actually, we'll have speed running events to allow people to upload their completion of the dungeons. We can have a bug report events where people can report bugs or provide feedback, and then we'll also be integrating certain leaderboards with other dApps and even gaming guilds platforms to run the different events. And then there's also the some social media posting, which we can will run some events to broaden the awareness. Ultimately, this battle demo is just it's a dungeon. The PvE part of the battle, you'll be fighting in a roguelike dungeon. Actually, you can select 7 to 20 levels. We're still defining that right now, and at the end you'll have to fight a boss. Um, those who complete the demo will actually be rewarded. This is actually something new I never announced. Um, So the Battle Demo Pass allows you to access this for an hour. That should be more than enough time for you to complete one set of the dungeon. But defeating the boss, you'll actually be entitled to these special tokens. It's actually our playthrough tokens called anima, but in a non-tradable form. So, so once you complete the dungeon, you can obtain these tokens. It's I have to confirm with my CTO either it will be bounded in by bounded to the email or it will be bounded to the wallet. And when the game launches, there are certain functions that cost Anima a playground token. It will consume these test tokens first. I still have to come up with a name for this one. And then in the future, when they want to use more, they can buy it from the markets or generate their own to use. And that's preliminary. More details will be will be told going forward. And that's pretty much it on the update on the battle demo. The couple with the battle demo with the Star Land sale, we pushed it over to October 18th. The whitelist process has been slow. The marketing to KOLs have been slow in response these days. Not sure if taking a summer break or if it's just everyone's focusing on the ETH merge and FOMC, so they're more focused on the main chain tokens instead of other projects. But I guess that's actually something I want to discuss with you, Bambi, and with the community today, is how the community views GameFi and blockchain gaming projects these days. Because honestly, I've been running into a lot of uh, what do you call it, bumps here and there, especially when we're trying to kick up the marketing. Um, just think in general, the reception of games and gaming guilds is actually really, really poor. I mean, I looked into the charts every day. The tokens, of course, are not performing well. A lot of the currencies, but still, there was still some volatility. Sometimes having a throat squeeze or some turbulence. But of all the projects, I think gaming is actually one of the ones where it just continues to go down and down and down. I was looking at the many tokens of other games that already launched a token, and they're not performing very well. And the gaming guilds one are almost an absolute disaster looking over there. Like, oh, I guess it all attributes to the idea that to the fact that there are just not many great games out there. So there's really um I mean, for the tokens, games that have tokens out, I think some of them don't have a game out yet. Some of them lack updates. All the gaming guilds seem to lack core games to play. So it's a little disappointing if you ask me. I was expecting a lot more games coming out this year before us. It seems actually we may even be one of the first ones to go out this year, judging from the trend right now. But yeah, just seeing what the markets are like. The KOLs, the exchanges don't seem as enthusiastic about games as they used to. That's what they tell me, but actually we are approved by all the CEX actually. We just have to take our pick. But for the general gaming, for the general uh, projects, they told us that they're not approaching gaming nowadays. Well, it's a little sad, but we'll see how things go. I think ultimately, yeah, I think for games to rise back out, it would take games with actual tangibility, like games with demos, something they can play, something that's different instead of trailers. But we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see how things go.
I
So
think it's
yeah.
quite interesting how it's developed, right? Like, I have quite a few things to say in terms of that. I think one of the most interesting elements for me is obviously being in the NFT space and crypto, but also being a true gamer at heart for my entire life. Um,
Mm.
and I know that there's quite a backlash in the gaming community in terms of what I've seen, who aren't involved in crypto and not necessarily understanding how it can be utilized and the use cases of it. And so feeling that it's fully a scam as opposed to having things that you can use that aren't necessarily available prior. So, a typical one would be the use case of skins and things along those lines. And so for me, I think one of the elements that I have noticed is, as you've said, so many projects will raise funds and not have a game ready to show, whether that's a closed beta, an alpha, screenshots, etc. They might not update in terms of what traditional gamers are used to. Like gamers, and I know this is true for me, that I'm like, we have loyalties in ways that are similar to sports in a certain sense, right? We're either an Xbox or a PlayStation person, we're Call of Duty or Battlefield. And I think because of that element of selection that we choose, um, coupled with the fact that in the NFT space, things move at a rate that is not manageable. It moves too fast and expectations are too high. Um, I
Mm.
think we run into this issue where we ultimately want a game that we do have ownership over. But when we come into the NFT space with this mindset of 2 to 5 to 10x so quickly, I find as a community as well, which is one of the things that I've tried to do myself when looking into projects, is not have such high expectations. Because if we're
Mm.
applying expectations, right, in terms of game development, you're not going to be able to produce a game in 6 months or a year. It takes a long time. And so I think that's one of the reasons why there's a little bit of backlash in some ways, and not so much attention on GameFi projects, unfortunately, right now, because the space itself, I feel like, isn't at a point where it's ready to wait that long. Um, Nor have some of the projects who have come out in terms of the ability to raise funds have they delivered. And so when we think about traditional games, like you can go to GameStop and get a game that's fully developed, ready to go. There's very little bugs for $60 if it's brand new. And so when we see these elements in the NFT space, I think that's one of the barriers of entry at this point.
Well, couldn't agree more. But yeah, honestly, just trying to see if is there any other games you're looking into? Any bullish ones you guys know about that's coming up? That's highly anticipated.
So one that I'm really excited for is Gangsta Mice City. They were a project that minted Mad Mouse Circus Genesis was their original
Mm.
collection a couple of months ago, and they had a game ready to go and did not get the traction that they wanted in that collection. So what they did is they cut supply, decided to transition and market away to a new collection, provide utility to their holders who had held, and so now this new Gangsta Mice City is their drop of the game. They just had actually a beta demo this weekend where the community could partake in it, and it was pretty fun. It was like a almost like a GTA style like conquering the city with a few different types of gangs, and so it was like a gang war style game. It was
What's
really
the
fun.
name of the collection again?
uh
Gangsta My City.
Gangsta My City, correct, that's the name of the new collection. The ones that it's tied to are called Mad Mouse Circus, and then there's a Genesis and a Troop collection.
Oh, let me take a quick look at that. Mad Mountain Circus.
Yeah, Mad Mouse Circus
Mm.
and Degenheim. I'm excited for
Oh.
Degenheim. And then I think Internet Game is pretty cool as well. Internet Game is doing some fun things with their season two. I have to I got my ass kicked in the first game last night, so I'm a little disappointed about that, but it's how it is.
Ooh. Um,
Yeah, there's quite a lot of when I think about it, there's quite a lot of game projects coming up. I know many people have heard of Big Time. I have a Ruby
mhm,
Pass, but I
mm.
unfortunately don't have a computer that can play it. I have an Apple, so I unfortunately was not able to get into the demo, into that beta. But that's another one that's coming up that I know that people are kind of excited for is big time.
Oh, me too. Actually, big time. There's several ones that I really look forward to. There's big time. There's Illuvium.
Illuvium, yes.
There's also the Phantom Galaxy. Recently played it. Um, and then there's also I'm waiting for a good MMORPG, but those would take time to develop. And then there's
Yeah,
a few Korean ones that I think are mobile ports over, but at least they would have a game available early. So would love to take a look at those ones. Um, I think there's a Stella something that came out
yeah,
recently that just did their mint, and but still, I've been talking to some of the game developers and projects, and a lot of them are still trying to find the right timing into this space. Still, a lot of people interested, just not. I guess not the ideal time, but I guess it's not the ideal time for even the Web 2 markets nowadays, with the M of FOMC meeting right on the way. I don't think anyone can predict what the market is going to become like until maybe even November earliest, probably in 3 years' time. So yeah, just trying to weather the spots. Actually, I would love to get an opinion from you regarding tokens as well, because one of the main things that we're looking into is just the token launch together with the game launch. I had a really interesting chat with Animoca previously, and they suggested that all their projects, we're not one of their projects, but we have some time discussing stuff. So they
hmm
said they are asking all their projects to do a decentralized exchange direct listing, so to speak. Not even an IDO or launchpad or anything, but just to directly list on the decentralized exchange, target gamers who really want to play instead of speculators. Don't go on the CEX; it's too expensive. To market make is too expensive to in terms of distributing allocation early because most CEXs actually demand at least 2 to 5% of the total tokens. So they are encouraging all their projects to do a decentralized exchange, to market make it themselves, and to work the trend up, which is actually what we originally intended. Um, Now that even Animal says and suggests that, it's sort of interesting to me how they view of the market should be made. Yeah, but what do you think would be a good token launch nowadays, or how should projects do their tokens? Does Zooverse have a plan for tokens, or do they actually have tokens? I'm just curious, actually.
hmm That's what I was. It's interesting, right? There's so much gray area right now, especially with the whole SEC ruling yesterday of them, or
Mm.
this morning, I think it was, claiming jurisdiction over all ETH transactions.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
read that.
yeah, I think one of the things is I don't find anything wrong with the token. I found a lot of things when it comes to gaming tokens. If you said that we're in the market where everything is just down right now, and so that's the unfortunate situation. For me personally, being in the space for so long, I've seen projects where the fad and the let's say trend at one point was to do a token. Stake your NFT, do a token, earn tokens, and then buy whitelists or buy IRL merch, things along those lines. I
Mm.
think that that can work well when the point of the project or the main focus or a main focus of the project is the token. So when it can be integrated into multiple ecosystems, whether that be the game, whether it be minting more NFTs, whether that be, let's say, layer two items right in your game where there's more use cases than simply just staking for a whitelist. I think
Mm.
that's when tokens can work well because the immediate negative that I see, or the con of a token, is it's automatically tied to the valuation of the NFT. And we've seen in some projects over the last 3 or 4 months, where floor prices, and not that floor price is everything, but floor price is a representation, right, of a lot of
Mm.
things. And one thing that's unfortunate is when you tie a token, such as, anything that you accrue when you stake um, to a specific collection that has a specific number of NFT pieces and a floor price which someone can actually look at and evaluate on a mathematical number. I find it causes some issues where your valuation can only go up to a certain extent. Because if you're generating X, Y, and Z tokens at this amount per day, someone will be able to do the math and generate, well, at this point, it's mathematically better for me to buy more of the NFTs and stake them, let's say, rather than it is to buy the token, or vice versa. And I think what that does is it restricts a little bit what you're tying your token to. And it's one of the reasons in one of my projects, Dreamland, why we decided to not drop a token, because we were working on a gamified layer 2 aspect where there was a lot of intricate ways that the token was going to work together. But we found at the end that no matter how we did the math, that there was always a little bit of an issue where we could never feel like we could push the floor price of our collection higher because it was always tied down to a generation of tokens that someone could easily sell off to liquidate. And so for our size of collection, it didn't seem useful because that wasn't our main focus. So I think when you're doing a token like in a GameFi project like this, it makes sense because there's a lot more use cases and there's a lot more adaptability in ways that you can use the token. It's just that tokens are so hard, obviously, because you, at the end of the day, only have one chance to do them right. It's really challenging to, you can't really scrap the token and tell the community you're gonna try and redo it.
I would not quite agree with that because well, there's still chances. It's still on chain. Is still the web. Always chances to to rework the tokens as long as the initial system doesn't entail too big of a loophole or a bug. So the devs can always alter or add utility, of course, depending on the type of utility. And I think online games as a service, blockchain as a service is still something that's moldable. Um, wouldn't be end of the world if well, unless there's one single token and it's controlled by someone other than the project in bulk, then yeah, that would be quite problematic. Um, but cool. These are some really great insights. Always enjoy talking with you and learning a bit more about your experience. You have
Yeah, it's
way
fun.
more experience in the blockchain compared to us, and it's actually the blockchain and marketing that I'm more worried about for our project right now. I do believe we have a very solid project, and that Apeiron will be one of the most unique games in the world. But in terms of marketing and blockchain integration, these are the two main things that I'm a little more worried in the short term. For
Mhm.
marketing, yeah, NFT reception amongst the gamers, Web2 gamers is pretty horrible. I mean, even Ubisoft recently made that announcement to sort of apologize for their take in the NFTs, which is quite a blow. And then there's also well, the typical gamers being really hateful of the Square Enix NFTs, but that's understandable. I mean,
Yeah,
those toys are could they shouldn't have bumped up the prices just with the toys alone unless there were more utility. But I guess the utility takes time to explain and takes an actual game for them to show them
yeah,
how it's done in order to give a better shed a better light on NFTs. And yeah, there are just too many brilliant scammers around town and just taking the spotlight right now. But we'll see
that's
how
true.
things go over there. Um,
So, question for you. In terms
hmm,
of blockchain integration and development, um, who are you guys working with by any chance? Because I have connections over at Chainlink that I would be happy to introduce you guys if
Oh,
you had
we're
any
talking to
interest.
Chainlink.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna
Uh,
say. I just got off a conversation with them the other day.
yeah, we work with several because we only moved to blockchain like last year, and so the blockchain developments and the integration is actually probably one of the weakest. spots of our project right now. So we talk to a lot of advisors, we talk to a lot of platforms, we even talk to a lot of white label solutions in terms of staking, front end contract, back end contract, auditing, and sometimes we also work with other tool sets, Scholar tool sets. With Earn Alliance, we see Infinity Force. We have been working with Carve. Carve is actually not a tool set, but they have an achievement system which I'm always interested to do something with because they're quite a friendly bunch over there. And then there's also some of the NFT listing platforms, the gaming listing platforms. There's always so many of those, and they all have their own digital footprint systems. Recently talked to one called Ethereum, one of the first Morningstar incubated projects that does digital footprint, not just in games, but also in many Web3 blockchain functions. And they seem to be around for quite some time. So we're looking into working with various of these companies and projects to integrate our APIs early or to see how they can help us better our on-chain solutions. But then again, yeah, I think because the fact that we're modifying a lot of existing blockchain structures, so even after audits and everything, the best thing to do is just beta test them and have and invite users and communities to try and test the betas and alphas a little ahead of the release. And the UX side of things is always a nightmare because all our artists are tied to the main game production right now. And so we have a separate UX artist for the on-chain functions. Well, not the ideal personnel yet. UX is always one of the um, toughest talents out there to find, and always the best UX artists are extremely pricey, but and hard to find as well. We're trying to find over there for the on-chain function. Well, it's okay. I mean, our team is experienced. The Gem, our CTO, is doing great. His experience from measurable data token really helped the project immensely. And so yeah, there's stuff like that.
Awesome. Sounds really, really promising. Do you think that, Frank, you think it's a good time to transition to answering some questions? We had a bunch
Oh,
of questions inside of the AMA
sure,
questions.
sure. Really,
Awesome, awesome.
let me
So
take a
let's
quick
see.
look over there.
So, Hin_US is the first question that was in today, and they're wondering, what are our thoughts on the upcoming FOMC meeting? We kind of discussed that a little bit. I'm really not sure what the specific agenda is of this upcoming meeting. But all I can say is I'm as excited slash nervous as I always am. It's a very volatile, unpredictable time right now where um, there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of movement that is going to happen based on speculation and also based on what actually comes out in statement in the public. So like I said, I'm not fully sure exactly what the address is going to be, but when it comes out I'll be sure to make sure that I understand and kind of have an idea of what the implications will be, because I'm in this space full time right now and it's quite a struggle to make ends meet, and so it's one of those things where being prepared is the best thing that you can do. So I guess that would be my response to the FOMC meeting.
Well, I think I think the rate hike is definitely going to be here. So interest rates are continuing to rise because they are dead set on fighting the inflation, which is a good thing in the long run. But ultimately, in the short run, everyone will suffer from a really stagnate, horizontal, even depressing markets. But on the other hand, it's the elections coming. So recently, there's an article saying that the Fed has stopped buying the mortgage-backed securities nowadays. This actually will lead to a decrease in the mortgage supply and limits the raise of rents. And it will also limit the core inflation. This is one of the things that they're coupling with to fight inflation together with the rate hike. Uh, not sure when will this take effect. Probably two years if you ask me, at least. So yeah, right now it's just they will announce something, but the market is already anticipating all this rate hikes and everything. So I'd say the major effect is absorbed, at least the initial plunge or the surge when Dow went lower than 30,600, like maybe 2 days ago. That's when the ETH dropped to 1,300. And but going forward, still I think the bulk of the market still sees a sentiment of a slow decline, probably maybe until mid or late October, to see what happens in the US elections in early November. That's actually also the time we target to launch our tokens. Hopefully, even if the markets is not ready or they are not doing anything significant, typically that's the fall and the plunge may slow down. And so there's room to recover and at least for marketing sentiments to get back on their feet somehow. Uh, that's what we view on the FOMC right now and the general markets. But for crypto, really, I think mirroring back to the dot com bubbles and the crashes, it's at a point where where it should be a winter. It should be a good half year to 1 year winter where there's a lot of funding that's been raised already. Gaming and Web2 dApps and DeFi projects have raised, and many platforms has raised a lot of funds. So then in the dot-com bubbles, 50% of them remained, and I'd expect a little less than 50% now will remain. But those who remain will remodel their core structures, their token structures, their app purposes into something further away from the hype and then more towards the core function. And those who survive will become the next great um, companies, the next Amazons, Googles, Facebooks. Hopefully, huh? Hopefully, Apeiron can become one of them that lasts and continue to change and evolve. Yep, I absolutely dive out. Let's. I mean, not dive out. I absolutely detoured right there. Let's stick back to the questions and see what else we can answer. And I really want to try to do something different with the AMAs nowadays because the AMAs has become so boring. Questions from the community. I was always looking for something more interactive, like maybe involving the community a bit more instead of this passive way. But yeah, I think for this one, let's answer some of the questions because the channel has been out, and let's see what we can share with
Yeah.
the community.
Sure. So there's a few. So I'm gonna bounce between a few of them, guys, but I'll make sure to get all of them in. What I'm gonna try and do is stick with like general topic questions that are along the same line. And so, following the FOMC, as we're talking a little bit about crypto and the space. Next question from Boss Eye is wondering: the merge affects ETH a lot. Do you think ETH price will affect the NFT market on OpenSea, and will the NFT market slowly recover? Do you want
Well,
to take that one?
I'll pick the first one because honestly, if it's about ETH and the current markets, I think Zooverse may actually have better answers than me because in my own opinion, NFT projects stay closer to the ETH markets and the immediate trends more so than games because for me games actually look into their own economies. It's a supplementary market with ETH, especially when we're on Polygon, but still our effects and what we aim for is something that will be affected but not as affected compared to NFT projects such as alpha groups that will monitor the markets closer, much closer to us. And actually, the moment I read this question, I would really want to see the answer from Sue first. But let me try and tackle this in my own light. The merge affects ETH a lot. To be honest, I think it changed some of the core structures, but a lot of the fundamentals did not change. So So honestly, I don't think it affected ETH that much. In terms of technology wise, yes, it did. But in terms of utility and its supply and in terms of utility and pricing, I think the major driving force of the ETH price is still hype and news. Um, Even after this change, this is just step 1.5 of the entire ETH 2.0 merge, and the merge would have to happen would definitely ultimately lead to ETH 2.0 is still 2023, 24. So honestly, I think the market has been over hyped or doing a rapid response due to the May and June plunge. And most people feel the markets will further continue to go down, probably around 1,000. But according to traditional financial cycles and sentiments, um, it never goes further down than what markets expect. So if the general market expects it to go below 1,000, it should probably be stopping at around 1,000 and 1,100 or 1,200s, and then it will start going back up. But honestly, not really unsure of what is. I think now is actually the worst time to make predictions or try to game on the market, because right now is at the we are at the cusp of the change, and anyone who projects too far into the future at this point is bound to fail. So it's always best to be careful and just monitor the markets just a little bit more. Let the October China election settle the Chinese markets a little more. Let the November US elections put in more policies and a little more, and hang in there. Don't try to game on anything right now. Is what I would expect. But still, the general trend is downward. Nothing in terms of this increased interest rate will spell good for the entire economy. But it's in the long run, this is a way long due. This action of raising interest rates and controlling inflation is really just economic cycles coming back. So yes, it will be tough. The economic cycles will be tough. So I don't see any, unless there's like a major breakthrough or like an incredible project, maybe like Apeiron. Not sure. Probably not games. Probably something needs to be a technological breakthrough or an extremely great app to bring about adoption. But still, it would take time to test the market, to prove the market, and for those great minds to monitor the project nicely. So pretty bearish, if you ask me. Well, anyway, I talked too much. Bambi, would you like to take a crack at this?
I think I'm pretty similar to your sentiment in terms of it being bearish. I joined the space at the peak of ETH, and I've been kind of researching and trying to figure out my understanding of why those things have happened and where we're at now. And as we're talking about, all of this is market cycles, and it's really good to understand how things repeat. But also, as you're saying, it's definitely not a good idea to try and predict something too far out in the future because there's too many things and too many factors that can play into those. Um, for me, in terms of the ETH merge, I feel like the correction of where we're at now was long overdue. And so, in terms of the technological advancement, right, that's definitely where ETH was affected. But in terms of us as a basic entry level consumer, we're probably not going to, and in my opinion, I haven't really necessarily seen too much of a change, um, since the merge has happened. I think when it comes to the overall NFT market, we are arguably in one of the most volatile asset classes in the world in a very volatile industry. And for that reason, we're in the space where people are just not going to play with money as much. And as we're talking about, we're really at a cusp and at a really important pillar moment where things are, changing drastically for the future. And so playing with the money itself is kind of very risky. I know some of my friends who are very experienced traders were able to make quite a bag on the merge just on shorting and longing and figuring out how to play the charts. And those are
Well, there are
always
always people who
options.
claim that.
Yeah. And so for me, I really see it taking quite a long time to kind of figure things out and stabilize. Just because there's so many things that really have to fall into place. There's so many things that have to work out geopolitically and technologically if we really want to advance everything forward to the degree that we really want. I'm very excited to see music NFTs and sports NFTs to that extent kind of pop off. I'm excited to see the musicians and the artists get a little bit more power back, but there's so much learning curve to get into the space in order to set up a wallet and set up a MetaMask and then purchase crypto and send it over and make sure that you have some type of VPN, and protection and security online because there's, as we've said, so many scammers. The space is rife with them. And so I think the market hopefully, right, that's the positive outlook, is that it does slowly recover. um, but I really see. I think what you said in terms of the winter, it's the perfect explanation in terms of hunkering down and just surviving through, and kind of playing everything by year. It's very seasonal in that sense, right? There's the quarters, every Q1, 2, 3, 4, and it's just like that. Where I grew up, you actually had true seasons, and you kind of have to adjust based on that. And I don't see too positive of any bull run coming. I think for anybody who's in the space right now, the uncertainty is very energetic. It's felt all over, and so when I see people talking about something that might spur a bull, as we said earlier, it would be something that would be absolutely groundbreaking, technologically wise, communal wise, maybe some art project or some, GameFi project, some comic book, something that really opens the space. But that's something that's much more of a long shot than it is an expectation. And so I'm prepared to kind of hunker down and just ride this wave out because there's a lot of stuff that has to unfold, and until those things unfold, there will be a lot of uncertainty in my mind, and I think also in a lot of people's minds who are investors as well as founders.
Right. Let's, let's move on to the next question because this question is, well, I think this is probably one of the worst times to answer that question. Trust me.
Yeah,
Not during the FOMC meeting, please. Give me 1 week
yeah.
after the FOMC meeting, and then the effects would be a lot better.
Yeah, it's like alpha callers right now, I know so many alpha callers who don't want to make a call because, they think that something might be X, Y, and Z, but the market might react in a totally different manner, and it's tough to make those things right now. Everything is
Not
so.
even in Web 2 can anyone predict the market right now. There's actually an economist out there, one of the most famous economists out there, that say this is actually the worst time to play a game on the market. This is the ultimate. Well, this is the ultimate point in the market that one should really watch it and play it safe. So yeah, but I don't think this would last that long, especially for crypto. Crypto cycles last so much. They repeat some of the similar patterns, but they come and go so fast. It's insane. But it's also one of the thrills and joys of crypto, I'd say. Just don't go too crazy or press that leverage button, and that's what I usually want to.
Yeah,
And yeah, let's take a look at
definitely.
the next questions.
Awesome, awesome. So let's see. So we have. So Bats is wondering, will you be playing in the demo as Evil Stewie?
Is this directed at me or you? Probably.
I am not sure, to be honest with you.
We were having fun about Family Guy the other day, so that's probably me. Um, Stewie is a character from Family Guy, and well, he's one of my favorite characters in Family Guy. I actually told them I learned English by watching Family Guy,
That's
and
funny.
Yeah, well, I really,
I love
to
it.
be honest,
I love it.
I was in American high school in Hong Kong, but I never really learned English there. I went to a college in the States in Wisconsin, but I really never learned English there either because both in Hong Kong, it's Hong Kong, I speak Cantonese and Chinese mostly. And then the college I went to, it was one of the biggest public colleges in the States with the biggest, not the one of the biggest, it's one of the biggest public universities that has the biggest Asian um, racial
Population. Yep.
yeah population, and so
Yeah.
and it's notoriously recruiting a lot of people from Hong Kong back in the days. Even got sued by the state because they well in the states they if a university um, accepts an overseas or international student even if they are public school they will have to charge a lot, like the private to the private school fees. So they deliberately allow more international students in, so they can get a
Oh, more
bigger
money.
checkbook. Yeah, and so I end up with like a huge Asian community, and I don't even know how to speak English when I came to the States. But then I
So
really enjoyed watching the cartoons, especially Family Guy back then. And then it opened me up to South Park, Futurama, and the other stuff. And then, oh, well, now I learned English by watching cartoons over there.
So I
But
have quite
anyway,
a
yeah.
little connection to South Park, not gonna lie. Little quick diversion. So I'm from Rhode Island. That's where I was born and raised. It's based on that state. It's based in Rhode Island. Not only that, the James, one of the characters, James Woods, was
Mhm.
my neighbor when I was growing up as a child. I moved to an apartment complex, and he was my neighbor. And then Seth Green, one of the writers of Family Guy, the other one there's
Uh-huh.
Seth MacFarlane and Seth Green.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Seth Green is not necessarily a family friend, but my father has a beach house in a little private community on the southern coast of Rhode Island, um, and so Seth Green is like a relatively close friend because he grew up in the same beach community as me as a child. So it's
What do you
really
like?
really amazing to hear how far of a global presence Family Guy has. It's really funny because I used to live in the smallest state in Rhode Island or in the United
Mm.
States. Sorry, and there's just so many people who know of my state because of that one show.
Well, Family Guy did come a long way, but honestly, well, at the beginning it was Family Guy. The first two seasons were great, but the later seasons sort of lost the steam. But then the later seasons I moved on to South Park. South Park were always actually South Park kind of grows on me. The older I got, initially it was just all fun and stupid, ugly cartoons when I first looked at it. But when I grew older, it actually reflected quite a bit. And I have to say, South Park hates Family Guy.
Yes.
Um, but I do agree with them. Some of the Family Guy jokes are really random and not much story. But still, it's funny. I mean, Ted is great. And then there's of course Rick and Morty now, which is incredible. I love Rick and Morty. This
Yeah, it's a
American
great show.
sitcom comedies is just probably one of my favorite things about America, and during my stay over there for 7 to 8 years. Um, so yeah, I still watch all these sitcom and cartoons nowadays. But yeah, well, I play as Evil Stewie. What is Evil Stewie? Stewie is supposed to be evil.
Yeah.
So, so much, but yeah. Well, thank you for the question, Bats. And thank you for remembering. What's
All
wrong?
right. So let's keep rolling through some questions. We got a few more to answer. So we got a few people wondering, based on the market conditions, obviously, one of the main things is how each project is going to continue and survive through. And so, baby TG is wondering, due to this market condition, what would make any project survive for the long term? And so, I guess we can kind of incorporate that and interpret a little bit. So, like, what are Aperion's plans, and what are y'all's plans for ensuring that you continue to push through this tough time and make it through?
Well, it's just watching your budget and making sure your runway is healthy. What I mean is, well, for for Apeiron, that's actually unique and quite a difficult case because we're close to the end of production. Well, at least for the initial launch, there will be updates and everything going forward. One of the main problems with game launches is that it's the marketing. Marketing traditionally, the golden ratio is 2 to 1, or actually 3 to 1 now. How if you throw $100 into development, 200 goes to then you have to throw 200 into marketing. Actually, it should be 3 to 1 now. So, so marketing and spending user acquisition is actually one of the major costs, and it's a huge and rapid cost. Be it that because much like token launches and many launches, the greatest momentum and the greatest uh, window is the moment of the launch, and so people typically go all out and loud during these initial launches, and that is typically what we should do. But in these markets, um, is this the ideal time to do that? If we launch Apeiron right now in this moment, we'll attract users, but we are sort of it wouldn't be ideal. The ultimate the ultimate point to launch the token would definitely be when there's a bull run or when there's a better light being shone on the NFT and especially gaming markets right now. And to, to launch now would be fighting the currents, and it's not ideal. Definitely wouldn't want to do that, but in terms of the game development, I mean we're so close to the end. There are parts of the game that we want to launch out. So what we're going to do right now, in the case that there's going to be a bear market, there's even going to be worse news coming out, we will still launch the game. We may push the token later, but the game will be launched in a limited aspect. We'll launch what we believe needs to be continually tested. That's the battle part of Apeiron. And to have that continually be tested, balanced, and adjusted. And then we'll just have to wait for the right time to launch the simulation in full, the card game gameplay, together with the token. So we can sort of achieve sort of like a double strike um, timing on it. This would be the ideal. I mean, so yeah, we'll have to wait a little longer. The game can always be polished. All games can always be polished, no matter what. Um, but to survive, if worst comes to worst, then just don't do marketing. Shut off on the. Be tight on human resources. Manage only save the best talents. Do not expand too fast, and have to watch the marketing and community budget. And probably the best way to control budget is to no longer have me run marbles because I tend to run marble events and I just give out rewards like crazy. So yeah, just get someone put a leash on me and then don't let me overspend on marketing and community rewards. Hunker down, find talent, keep talent, and then just make step by step make sure the project continues to get polished. When the time is right, uh, release the marketing. This is all about timing, and for projects that's for many projects out there. They're trying to raise funds, and those who manage to raise funds is being very careful about talent selection, and that's a good time because there's been so many layoffs since June and July. There's actually quite a talent pool out there, um, on the blockchain especially, and it would be good to see who to recruit. But still, it may need a few more months for the prices to go down because right now it's still hot. I mean, if you look at the KOL price charts, if you look at the blockchain talent price charts, everyone is still billing the same price they're receiving from their previous projects that most of them got fired upon. Uh, the, the realistic fact is that there needs to be a slight adjustment. Together, it's the same with the entire economy. This is the whole reason with which the government is trying to control inflation is because this inflation is economically one of the oldest paradoxes, but in my eyes, it's just people like to ask for more, people like to grow, like to improve, so everyone wants more. But is everyone doing more? Absolutely not. But to satisfy the needs, there needs to be a constant rise in prices, and it's time to get a little reality check and just yeah bump the prices down and try to find the right mix. There's a lot of bloating in terms of payments. This is what happened so I swear I'm going to stop after this. This is what happened in the Chinese game development markets when I first started the company. When I first founded the company, what was happening in the Chinese markets is there was a mobile gaming boom in China. There's many game developers out there, and what practice did they go after? It's actually highly similar to what the Web3 gaming is like right now. So I talked to these Chinese gaming companies. I think I talked to one of the biggest ones out there, and they have this team of 400 to 500 people, 5 game development teams, all developing trailers. They made 12 game trailers, but they never created any games. And so they created these trailers. And typically, game production is like so. In the beginning, there's the game developer and the game publisher. Being a game developer, you only have to develop games. You don't have to market the games. So you cut off 2/3 of the costs. But how you gain money is that you create trailers, you create a alpha, a beta, and then you market it to the publishers. You can publishers are separated into multiple regions across the world. So for each publisher, if you have a cool demo, if you have a cool trailer, they'll typically give you like a minimum guarantee. So they'll say, okay, I'm gonna invest $2 or $3 million into this, and I'll help you market the product. And as a minimum guarantee, if it's approved, I'll pay you 25% upfront. So you'll get 500K, and they collect these minimum guarantees from around the world with really cool trailers and demos, and but they don't develop the game. They just create another trailer, and then they go on and pitch another minimum guarantee. In a way, with all these minimum guarantees, because it's a contract that once they finish the game, they'll have a future income of the 75%. So the banks and loans all look very friendly to these guys, and they scale up and get another loan. So from all these things, they blew it up to such a huge amount of such a huge, gigantic industry with all these income and future income, and they approach the banks to get the loans to set up the company, and they put really random costs into them, and then they go for the VCs who who sadly most VCs only look into numbers and don't really know about the game, so they still don't look into sales records. They just look into trailers. They look into the huge short boost in fundraising numbers, and they say, "Oh wow, this is a great project." And that company, not just that company, there's a huge amount of companies in China back then that rose to oh my god, they rose to billions and billions of dollars, and but no game. And then eventually there's so many of these that continue to recruit, because in order to sustain this amount of fundraising, you need to spend. So they were frivolously recruiting any game designer or any programmer. So suddenly there's a huge surge of game developers and designers. But all these game developers designers actually all they do is develop trailers. And none of them have been in the full production cycle of game. I mean, there's something regarding developing a game trailer, developing but to develop a full game with game design, with level design, with all the case handlings, the debugging phase of the online merger integration of games. There were so few developers that actually had this expertise, and the ones who had were hawked by, of course, the bigger giant companies, and so it was really unhealthy, and 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 there were a lot of talent in the market, but those talents weren't exactly that. Those were just people who were making trailers, and so there were other companies who tried to hire them, and they end up making trailers again. But then after 2 years, the Chinese publishers and began to smarten up. The public began to smarten up. Then there was this talk of Chinese government hammering down on the gaming markets that don't allow the release of so many mobile games, because there are honestly so many mobile game developers, and they are all generally copying off of each other. And game addiction and mobile gaming is not exactly, well, the best to talk about, but yeah. So this I being a gamer, seeing the ban, I of course I think it sucks, but if you look at the trends of the games coming out, the the microtransaction, the way they're monitoring the way it's being developed is really predatory sometimes. So yeah, I do think there needs to be control somewhere along the line. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much where I'm going to stop. Just how the heck did I end up here? But uh, just wanted to share a small story I had when I first visited the field. But now, yeah, if you look at the Chinese gaming market, it's one of the world's leading gaming development markets and one of the biggest acquisitions in the world. So yeah, um, before the giants and the great ones come out, there is bound to be these similar times, and it's again it's a cycle, and from the ashes of these times, there will rise giant gaming blockchain franchises and great projects. So yeah, but still, just need to uh, weather the stormy seas and avoid the brilliant scammers, and just step by step realize the dreamless dreams. Okay,
Love
okay, that's it.
it. No worries at all. No worries at all, man. We can keep rolling through to the questions. We're gonna try and get some of these questions in. I know it's getting late for you, Frank, so I don't want to hold you up too late. So we'll get a
Oh,
few
it's
more
okay.
questions in, and then we can kind of see if anyone wants anything specified towards the end. Um, so I really like Nick Pan and Bats' questions. I'm a big fan of when we're talking about any type of Web 2 transition over to Web 3. And so Nick Pan is saying, "Hey Frank, recently saw that Starbucks launched an NFT program in the US. Members can use Visa to buy Starbucks NFT and get additional benefits by completing tasks. How to divert traffic from Web 2 to Web 3 is actually the most difficult. When we have our own marketplace, are we considering using payment by credit card for purchases?"
Yes, we're actually talking about that 2 days ago. Whether we have to implement that, because ultimately, if we go for a DX solution, the best way is to incorporate Moonplay and what credit card paying systems to get it done. But then, oh, well, luckily, this is where we've been doing good preparations in terms of legal structure and doing KYCs before. Well, actually, not to the step of KYC because the community round is not there yet. But yes, in terms of, because we have to integrate with these solutions, we may even tighten our grip on the KYCs and stuff. But yes, that is one way of which we can approach more Web2 crowds. But if you ask me, I honestly think and hope that there'll be technology coming out on blockchain to solve these really silly and tedious wallet management and creation processes to become more streamlined and effective. Um, it should happen. I've seen some of. I still continue to talk to many different projects, and I've seen several of them. They've shown me demos of how to streamline this. So hopefully they'll be able to reach the final stage of the product and mass produce those and help solve a lot of these adoption issues. Um, yeah, but before that happens, yes, trying to work on third-party solutions such as the payment gateways using credit cards is something we consider. And luckily, it's not that hard to integrate these things. Um, it's even if you have these, the problem is that the main problem is still a trust issue. people hate NFTs, and hopefully with the game and with more user testing on how to perform the on-chain functions, so the UX can be better, then we can really drive the Web2 adoption. With the esports gaming, with the esports tournaments that we will host. The esports tournaments can be hosted even without the planet simulation. So yeah, we're pretty good on that one. Okay.
Awesome. Sweet. Kind of rolling into a little bit more of some Web 2 stuff. Bats is wondering, companies like Xbox offer gift cards that parents can buy for their kids to use for game purchases and in-game purchases. Do you see Apeiron offering gift cards for purchases in the future? Would love to see a pic of Santa Dude with his reindeer on the gift card for Christmas.
Mm, I'm not sure how to answer this question because the nature of NFTs is that the NFTs are the gifts. So, but in terms of merchandise or anything, yeah, we will look into merchandise. We will create. We could create specific. Well, actually, we did talk to the GameStop. Um, what do I call that? The ones who sort of like run the GameStop shops in Southeast Asia. That and also in Taiwan, actually, in terms of these game cards and gift cards, we had a chat with them to create gift cards and stuff in the future when the game launches. So yeah, that will be something similar like that. But if you ask me, those are still NFTs.
Yeah.
I think the utility and how we use them. I really think being able to pass on. I mean, even if you look at our game demo, and the game demo pass, I'm thinking of ways to enhance it. I don't want it to turn into something like they use it, they burn it, and it's gone. I mean, NFTs, there's the ability to own and collect is always there's always something very unique, and I want to work on it. But anyway, this would be spitballing into territory, not even our production pipeline is not involved in. So it's just my ideas. Probably not a good idea to talk in the public about this. But the short answer is yes, we'll definitely work on those. Probably digital versions in the beginning, much like the ones you see in Minecraft. And then further down the road, hopefully, you'll see some more physical actual merchandise of them. Uh, yeah.
Amazing. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Super excited. I was thinking very similar in terms of, the NFT is a gift card in similar ways, but I think that's cool having the option to, specify it maybe for merch or for something like that. So that'll be exciting to see in the future. Um, Rolling into a little bit more of some actual game questions about the game and its development. Yenkos is wondering, hi Frank, can we give our non-planet holder friends the battle pass that we planet holders will earn? I have a few friends that are interested in the game, but is still undecided in buying a planet of their own. At the same time, too busy to work for the lunar and solar fragments.
Yeah, sure. I mean, those are NFTs. The battle passes are NFTs, so of course you can give it to them and just send it to them and have them play. And or you can just send one of your removal planets if you have multiple to them, for them to just play. Ultimately, because these battle passes, each battle pass actually entail to a certain value of non-tradable anima, the tokens. They do actually have value. So if you want to share, then that's of course that's okay. But sometimes it's also doable that you can try to grind a few more of these passes to get additional um, non-tradable tokens. Because the Primeval Planet owners can get some, but yeah, ultimately, if you want to get as much of these tokens before the game um, to prepare and to save some costs, then yeah, uh, try to get some of these NFT passes to extend your ability to prepare your a small treasury before the game begins. The rough amount of the tokens you get is probably around one breed cost. So that's two mini black holes around 100 US dollars. 50 to 100 US dollars will be what each will be entitled to. So, yeah, well, have fun thinking about the math. Just as Bambi said, you'll find the ideal math between playing yourself or giving it to your friends, depending on the utility of things. Can I answer this special question and give a reward to this Japanese dude?
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
because
course.
our Japanese community is recently growing, and I would love to answer some of these questions by the Japanese community.
Of
And
course.
I always love funny questions. So they were asking, "Hi, Goddess Cosmo were described as being afraid of broccoli. Do the boots use broccoli as weapons?" I definitely advocated uh the the um the art team to do that, but whether they took my advice is something else. And I'm afraid of broccoli there. And I will like the ability to search by age or relic slot in the marketplace. Actually, the relic slot you'll be able to find, but age is actually very interesting. Let me ask Gem if they can do it, and if Gem is our CTO. Second.
Great questions. I would be pretty terrified of a broccoli weapon myself.
uh, I I never loved the harder stemmed vegetables. I'm all for spinach and softer vegetables, but
Yeah,
no
I
broccoli
love
for me. Yeah.
spinach. I have a whole garden bed of spinach out in the backyard. Gotta pick it actually as we speak. It's my plan for the afternoon is to go do a little bit of a harvest in the backyard.
Do you still live in Rhode Island now?
I do not. I live over in Oregon. I'm on the other side of the coast.
Okay. But your parents still live back in Rhode Island or something?
They do. My mom still lives there, and then my father is a snowbird, so he lives part time in Rhode Island and then part time in Florida.
Oh, I see. Well, Florida. That's where my older brother went to college. Never
Nice,
been to
nice.
Florida.
That's where I went to
Oh,
college.
oh, cool. Well, which college do you go to?
It's called Flagler. It's northern Florida,
Okay. Oh,
a little private school.
nice. Okay. Uh, on to the next questions.
All right, Shawnee. As I heard in the past AMAs, cosmetics have different stats. My question is, when will I be able to see the skills of our planet and stats of cosmetics in Apeirion's marketplace?
The stats of the cosmetics will come when the cosmetics and the relic boxes come in. So we'll be doing some early relics in terms of cosmetic, or actually planetary relics a little earlier. Not sure how exactly the math is going to be done there right now because we want to push the game demo, and because if we do those, then it's incorporated with our planet simulation gameplay. So we don't want to release them too early before we set the date on the actual launch. Um, anyway, so for the main active skills to be displayed, we are targeting around the time of the mint of the star land mint, so that's around mid October. Um, right now, the artist is, as I said, told some of our community members before, our artist pipeline is all the way packed to the brim until February next year. So even I am not. I'm really thankful that our community have great artists. So I actually threw a lot of the community event artwork to them, and they really helped out in this sense. Um, and as for the skill cards, it's being done. It took a lot of persuasion to get these skill cards done by the younger artists, because previously we wanted the main art lead, the three defined art leads, as I always say call them. Uh, this they prefer to do everything themselves, but it's not scalable. So it took us some persuasion to get them to release the responsibilities to some of the younger ones who show a little more promise to work on the skill cards. Because if we follow their pipeline, then it will take at least until November to complete all the skill cards. So no. We're working on that, and all the skill cards should be complete. I think date is currently targeted to be around October 15th. But we'll see. They still the Holy Trinity will still have a final say on what to edit and everything. But they are artists and they have a strong sense of gatekeeping and keeping with the quality. So, but I respect that. I mean, Apeiron's quality is something that we're very proud of, the artwork. So we definitely respect the art lead and their direction. Um, there. Yeah.
Awesome. Moving on to the next one. Uh, Tata 20. Hi, my only question: when Avatar evolve form leak?
When Avatar Evolved Form League. Well, not anytime soon. The first evolution should be after game launch, and the full evolution should be first expansion. So yeah, if it's a little leak, then you'll still have to wait. Well, the only leak out there is actually the one on the website, and then the battle trailer. That's the main avatar that we used to work with. That's the adult version. The baby version is the one that you guys will be playing in the battle demo. One of the adult versions. There are several evolution paths. Okay, let's move on.
Awesome. So now we have a bunch of questions that are kind of relating to Web 2, Web 3, and a little bit of geopolitics. So I'm gonna kind of figure out a way to uh, answer a few of them, in this whole discussion. So Bats is wondering, in the future, as we've talked about, there are uncertainties in terms of the regulations over gaming tokens. He's wondering, in the future, do you think Web 2 and Web 3 games will be able to adjust to the disclosure requirements? I'm not fully exactly sure what you specifically mean by that, but my interpretation is in the future, right, there might be some consideration where all of these gaming tokens are going to be considered securities, as you're saying. And so, how are these companies going to adjust to when they have to disclose those financial requirements? I personally am not really 100% sure. I'm not necessarily on the business end, but I can imagine that it's something that a lot of people who are in the position of professionally develop anything are aware that it's a possibility, and they're slowly starting to prepare for the eventuality that it might be something that takes over. And so I think if you ask a lot of people who are in the forefront or genuinely passionate about doing this in the future, I think it's something that they are willing to and kind of ready to figure out how to adjust to. At this point, I think the issue might be how those disclosure requirements are laid out, what requirements those might be, how much privacy slash freedom, we are going to be debating between what we think of as DeFi and decentralized finance versus, traditional central banks and things along those lines. So I think there will be games having the ability to adjust to it, but I think you'll definitely see a little bit of kind of issues in terms of some of those just unfortunately not being able to keep up with the bureaucracy, I suppose, of that issue. I live over in Oregon, right? I can parallel it in some ways to like when cannabis went legal, right? It was one of those things where it wasn't really understood beforehand. They decided to make it legal because there was some money involved, and then a lot of the requirements in order to continue doing it pushed some people out based on the bureaucracy behind it. I think it might be something similar just because of how things have to transition in the future in order to accommodate where technology and politics and the economy has kind of gone at this point.
I love how you used cannabis term. So PC. Awesome. For me to answer this question, uh, I think most of them can't. If you ask me, the nature of crypto is actually transparency, and it's the disclosure of the owners. I think what Web3 really is about is not full decentralization in my eyes, because full decentralization is absolutely chaos. I think what Web3 is about is being a social experiment, because if you look at more what's rife? What is rife right now is scammers and insecurity. This is one of the biggest things that concern even veteran Web3 users. So there needs to be a certain demand. There's so many rug pulls and there's so many scammers that of course a certain degree of centralization helps governance and to punish these people is needed but not full. So to strike the right balance between centralization and decentralization is really, in my eyes, what this whole Web3 experiment is about. And but there will always be a form of decentralization because only via decentralization can Web3 evolve so quickly, and with which at such a speed that no Web2 organization or government can can effectively adjust to the speed with which Web3 decentralization can move. But it's really up to the Web3 crowd themselves to unite and work together to find a form of centralization and governance so that there can be more accountability for at least the ones at the helm of the projects. Um, yeah, so if you ask me, I think a lot of them prepared. If you ask us, we're fully prepared to go full disclosure. Um, but yeah, that's only for the developers, not the accounts for our users that we used. But I guess this is a much more longer term topic compared to the others. So I won't dwell into details. But the short answer is a lot of them, yes, they can because of all the men behind the screen is still have an identity tied to Web2, and as long as the prospects and the business itself is the practices is good, I don't think there's anything to fear for them. All right,
Awesome.
we're done.
Definitely. And so, like, I love these two questions. We're going to combine two of these. Um, let's see. I cannot read. I'm not sure if it's Japanese. I don't want to say the wrong language. But we have a
Chinese.
beautiful question. Talking about the long-term development of the game. And will it be more beneficial for the game to be launched in the bull market? I feel like the bear market has no confidence. It
Um,
ties in beautifully to Binzerone's question in terms of during this bear market, most blockchain games have chosen to delay their planning progress, like IDOs, game launches, etc. Web 2 games don't have this concern about whether the market is bull or bear. I think it's a really interesting point and super aware. What do you think about this problem? Does this prove that the economic models of most blockchain games are fragile? I think that's a really interesting tie back to the previous question in terms of will it be more beneficial for the game to be launched in a bull market?
uh, yes, the short answer is yes, well, most definitely, because games, especially games that have tokens, and the tokens are tied to the economic of ETH and currency markets, and and how we adopt users in these times is actually an indicator. These prices is the ultimate marketing tool. If we are to launch the game, actually, this is actually the actual fact. When we do marketing, when we do press release, they actually go through a process asking, do you have a game launched? And do you have the token launched? In order to get on the Bloomberg articles, in order to get into the bigger publications or the larger KOLs and platforms, they need a launch token or a launched game. This is how the world views crypto right now. The ability to earn the monetary value. If you launch something with a monetary value in the bear market, oh, you'll be fighting against the currents, and it's not exactly ideal compared to Web2 games. Can a Web2 game launch no matter what? If you ask me, a Web2 game still have to look at some, unless you go for the early subscription model. Web2 games typically do avoid each other in times of competition, in terms of um, launches. If you look at the mobile market and the Steam market, the bigger titles will try to target usually the holidays, sometimes the launch. But if you take a look, just like movies, actually, everyone do pick a time to avoid different market conditions and sentiments. Um, but yes, uh, will we delay forever if it's forever perish? No, it's not. And it's sad that to this day, sometimes the delay is viewed as, or that the bear market is seen as an excuse for a delayed production pipeline. I'm 50-50 on this one because indeed game development is really something that takes a long, long time. It's not something that can be developed within the blockchain fundraise timeframe. And on the other end is that uh for the for the well, how should I answer this? Let me think about it a little bit. Does this move prove that the economy? Well, I should answer this frankly. So yeah, it is fragile. It's extremely fragile because no matter how I look at the current markets, if we launch right now with the tokens and everything, the biggest amount of people we on board are speculators and grinders and scholars, not Web2 gamers or gamers that really will try to contribute. If you look at the speed with which our community is growing, it is growing ever so slowly because we're trying to identify gamers. And at the end of the day, we attract mostly Web3 gamers. And then it's actually, we are attracting Web3 gamers and Web3 users and converting them back into the original gamer cells and into core holders. Will we be able to attract Web2 users? Well, we may be able to attract Web2 users with an actual game. That's the alternative. That's the usual preference, that they actually get to play it, see it, before they buy it. Um, so that's hopefully something we can do with the game demo and the battle launch, uh, if the markets suck. Uh, and then if the economy is fragile, I think so. If most people actually hold the tokens to sell, then and nobody is spending in the game, then yes, it's true. And I think we have yet to see any good game tokenomics out there that has proven to be very efficient. I think there needs to be heavy taxing. There needs to be a heavy limit of selling and supply use early in the days to ensure that we can find the best way to scale up the release of the tokens together with the demand. Um, so, short answer, yeah, your fears and concerns are very, very true and correct. And this is one of the disadvantages. I think, especially for Apeiron, this is true because I'm I'm very protective of this project, and I don't mind doing everything much more slower just to make sure everything is right. I can rush out. I can get everything out. I can, but that only that are we prepared to do that? I mean, we have a team of 100 or a team of 60 core developers, and we outsource 60 people around the world. Is that enough people? Do we have enough time to adapt to the changes? I wouldn't say no, but it's still a 50-50 out there. If we go out right now, we could really use more preparations. We could really see some more. I would really hope one of the bigger titles will come up before me, so we can take a look at how the market reacts to these great games in these times, so we can better gauge our response. Um, yeah, yeah, that's us. So yeah,
Awesome. I love the insight, man. I really do appreciate it.
you know,
So rolling on, guys. We got a few more questions that we're gonna get in here. Um, let's see. I really like this central bank digital currency from E2222. And
hmm,
they're kind of wondering, do you think central bank digital currencies will one day replace the mainstream cryptocurrencies? In today's news, Hong Kong Monetary Authority has announced plans to start trials of its CBDC.
hmm, well, uh, haven't read this one yet. I read the news of this one launching and everything, but if you know anything about Hong Kong, then you know this thing is not going to come to fruition. Then in 5 years, and in 5 years' time, crypto would have evolved beyond that point. But in terms of why they are doing this, I think it's tied to the ERMB, the electronic version of renminbi, the Chinese currency. It's probably why they suggested this and doing this. Um, but will it one day replace mainstream? No, it wouldn't. Well, you say one day though, right? One day, yeah, one day. But that one day would be I don't know. I don't know if I'll live to see that day. Um. So so not soon, because one of the at least foreseeable within these 5 to 10 years is deglobalization, which is a very sad fact. The China U.S. power struggle, the war in Ukraine, the still growing segregation of humanity, and the tribalism from social medias is still yet to see a solution out of these. And the world is from the past globalization phase is moving on to full deglobalization. If you ask me, the future lies in globalization. And if Web3 can show globalization, it would be incredible, but that would be a far-fetched idea right now. But with deglobalization, uh, I don't see this integration of the currency, especially not in Hong Kong, because this would mean that ERMB is tied to the CBDC, and the CBDC can be used to distribute to global currencies. Which, if there is, it would be tied back to the monetary authority to the states. So no, I don't see this happening anytime soon, because the relationships are really sour right now, and and the governments are not ready to do that. They can plan it, but they highly doubt they will do it. Okay, moving on.
Awesome. Let's see. So we got two more questions. Um, let's see. Last Chance is wondering, in terms of long, right? What is your long-term strategy to grow the user base? Obviously, you need a great game, but in my opinion, that's only to raise the theoretical limit of how many people are willing to play a game, not how much it's actually going to play for. For projects like a million plus players, I can't say that there isn't a heavy marketing budget or at the very least a well-known distributor or studio behind it.
Hmm. I'm gonna read that. It's question. I mean, you're listening. So it's raised for some people in the game. I actually don't. Except for the first question, the rest of the statement seems self-explanatory. Seems rhetorical. So I'll try to answer the first one. Oh, last chance. Last chance is okay, I won't divulge into over there. I won't be too over there. But yeah, well, I hope you recovered your stuff last chance. Okay, for the long term strategy, the long term strategy for growth is hard work. It's turning Apeiron into a franchise. is by turning ourselves into a publisher. Our company, Funimigis and Ita Entertainment, had always, from the beginning, aimed to be both a developer and a self-publishing company. Especially with we have a whole marketing team that has digital marketing experience in terms of user acquisition. A lot of our users are acquired via Google Ads and numbers and metrics, and we have App Annie and Sensor Tower big data platforms that we subscribe to help us. But ultimately, how the brand tends to grow its users is not just via one game. No single game can grow into the long term, not even World of Warcraft, not even the great games. When people grow bored of similar IPs of the same mechanisms over and over. It's up to the game itself to evolve from one medium to another, from a game to merchandise to comics to animation to movies, and then to other types of games, other types of interactive mediums that can tie back to the central project. This is what the ultimate dream would be. But yes, we have prepared merchandise, we've prepared stories, animations, movies, and then there'll be a bigger equity fundraising round next year after the game launch to fund the development of the movies and the animation series to venture into proper Web2 IP licensing territory. I think the dudes themselves is something that we really like, and on the idea of reinventing a lot of the mythologies, especially using a satire sense that surprisingly ties back to the South Park and Family Guy point. Is something that we think would be interesting on a lot of our products as Rainwater and Funimigas and the ones that we want to develop in the future. Actually, we try to identify brands and elements that are appealing to on a global scale and an international market. um, so that's one way with which we try to drive longevity for growth of user base and our own company. Because when I founded the company, I don't just want to create one single gaming project. If I wanted to do that, I'll just invest some money in some existing game developer. I don't have to start my own game company and go through all the motions of being an entrepreneur. It's very hectic. Um, but But the moment we decided to start this company, to found this core team of 30 people, we want to find a model that lasts. Well, a traditional saying of chemistry is that the only true value that you could carry on is the game development team itself. I mean, projects can come and go, but that's in the old days because back then projects are one-off. They are not online games. They are not online operation games. They are not games as a service games. Today it's a different story, but it's always the core team and the core talents that we have to recruit, and we want to find a way with which they can continue to create and build. Um, and, and that's one of the ways with which we plan to grow the IP by to grow the user base by growing the IP itself. Um, the longer dream into the longer future would be the better first, where really developers can really work together. That's a lot of times that we try to identify great projects, great projects such as Zooverse that we are willing to come back again and again to just catch up and learn, and then hopefully one day when we have enough trust built or something, or when Apeiron has more to show, then we can work on more models, because ultimately, I do see gaming guilds and alpha groups as two very key players in the future demographic of Apeiron's gamer population. I think alpha groups and gaming guilds share a high similarity in terms of their ability to onboard quality Web3 users. While the better gaming guilds, alpha groups definitely do a better job than this. And alpha groups do one thing great, is that they have great communities. I mean, because I think their sole focus is on building these communities and identifying opportunities, that they have become really niche and specialized. And I really like, and they are the ones who can introduce more loyal and good crowds to us further down the line. While we, as a game developer, as a publisher, or even though Apeiron has a great community itself, it's still it's I think we're still not doing the best of jobs in terms of community. We are game developers at the core, so our game, all our resources are focused on the game. The community I run it, we have the community team running it, but is it great compared with other NFT communities? We definitely are not doing as great, probably in terms of inexperience and not enough resources handled into this. But that's where the partnerships comes in. That's where the gaming guilds we partner with. That's where the alpha groups that we partner with will come in. That they can help us on board and identify users, and we can help them by integrating the NFTs with us, by allowing them to have certain affiliate programs that encourage them to introduce users to us. So each of us specialize in our own ways, but ultimately we can work together on the so-called metaverse, um, where where collaboration should take place in a much more friendly fashion. Okay, that's pretty much it. Don't want to go too deep into that.
Amazing. No worries at all, bro.
Um,
Don't apologize. Not at all. I like when we have these deep conversations. It's nice. I'm usually the one, just chilling talking, so it's great. It's always a good time. The last one was even we spent even longer. So we're kind of rolling up on the last few of the questions. Guys, if you have anything that you would like to kind of get in before we wrap up here in a few minutes, do shout out. No worries. I can bring anybody up on stage. I don't believe anyone has raised their hand since I've seen today. I think we've had mostly text questions, which is cool. And the last one we're getting from Soul is, Hi Frank, does the player get any rewards from playing the game demo? And how can players submit bugs if they encounter one while playing the demo?
oh, yeah, well, you get a reward for playing the game demo. The the untradeable anima. I've yet to settle with a name of that. It's actually called junket chips, but junket is a concept from Macau gambling. It's just pretty much a credit line. But anyway, yeah, you get a reward. It's you get play to earn tokens, untradeable version, and then for the players to submit bugs, well, it's most likely a Google form that requires you to fill in some screenshots and everything. Um, and if they encounter while playing them, yeah, so that's that. So most likely we'll be running all these events with bug submission, speed runs, limited runs, social network sharing of your snippet videos or game screenshots, anything like that. We'll have a whole bunch of those to couple with it, and we'll reward them with various Pony emblems or other NFTs or USDC. So that ultimately we want players to test it, to play it. Uh, but ultimately, if they like it, they can get a premium planet or planet further down the line. So the main differentiation right now is that the developer passes only allows 1 hour access. If you want to go join the bigger events and tournaments, then you either get more demo pass, or you just get a premium for planet and get it over and done with. That's the idea and the plan. Okay. In terms of
Amazing.
unwise, I'll just answer that right. No, Web3 will never replace Web2 games. It's a different genre. Uh, Monetization wise, the Web3 model right now have no way to defeat the monetization of Web2 mobile games. Anyway, yeah, moving on.
I think that's all of them. The last thing that I would just like to read out is MetaV said recently Apeiron just raised a support fund for a fellow dude to recover from an unfortunate accident. I think this is a really nice initiative. I hope Apeiron can create a charity foundation to help more people in need under the name of Apeiron and Web3. I really like this idea. I really do like that, man. I think that's such an amazing thing that that's one of the most. It's one of the benefits of Web3 is being able to have the communal opportunity to kind of support and assist each other in that manner when you really need it.
I'll give this a little thought, but don't want to turn this into a marketing stunt. So not going to go around telling people that we did that.
Yeah.
I think charity don't really require marketing. But in terms of this, um, Yeah, that's what I said. So we're raising some funds for one of the community members that had a fire and their home and apartments, and it burned a lot of it, and so they're living in the hotels right now. So we're trying to help out, and then and not requesting funding. Actually, we were just requesting Funny emblems. The Funny emblems are the special NFT tokens we give out. So I'm just recycling them back. I'll buy every one of them at $10 back, and then I'll yeah, no, not buy them back at $10, but I'll just everyone I receive, I'll just send $10 to the victim. Well, anyway, if we do receive extra of this, do become something nice. Well, we can save a rainy day fund. Will we be doing charity on a massive scale? I'm yet to determine that because I really want to avoid turning this into a publicity thing. Um, but if the dudes are in need, if the community members are in need, yeah, we can always help. We will drive some fundraising to help out these dudes. If there's a great initiative, if the community sees a charity donation or foundation that's in need, and does it have to involve one of our dudes? It should, because if it does not, we're really evolve into a charity foundation, which is great. I do a lot of charity work when I'm young, but not sure if we have the capacity to do that. I mean, we can help our community members. But yeah, I'll think about that. I really want to, in the long run, I really want to do that if you ask me. But right now, just try to focus on helping the ones in need in our community right now. There are many people in need in this world, and that would be a tough one. Well, but it's a good direction that I will maintain. Trust me. But yes, don't the fine line between helping and marketing. I prefer to stick with helping. Uh, it's okay.
Amazing. Definitely. So, guys, we're rolling up on about 2 hours. So, we're going to get this last question in from Dan Peer. Dan Peer is wondering, do you think a fully decentralized DAO community governed game is possible? If yes, imagine a situation when a proposal is good for the long term development of the game, but it will damage the short term interest of most players. How can this proposal pass? So, do you think, first off, before we get into the deeper question, do you think a fully decentralized DAO is possible in terms of a game?
There's a possibility. Of course, it's possible. It's just
Yeah,
not plausible. It's just not plausible at all.
yeah,
Because well, gamers are very emotional beings, and with the anonymity and non how do I say that right? Anonymity. Um, it's a lot of people actually have much shorter goals and interests, and they will never ever vote on the second question. Because in terms of economies of scale, the interest of people and the ability to see further ahead becomes shorter and shorter. So humans, when in mass and in bulk, are driven by much shorter term goals and gains. That's why you see gamblers and boots thrive, but you see gambling thrive, you see addiction thrive because humans, well, not every human is conditioned to think in the long term. So, in such a situation, when the proposal is good for the long-term development of the game, most players, how can this proposal? It can only be passed when the group is exclusive, when the group is made up of elites, when the selection of this DAO is actually not, well, yeah, it's not fully decentralized. So I think this is actually not, if you ask me, I'm a pretty bleak person. So, and so, yeah, I think this is a contradicting concept, and so it wouldn't help, especially not in a game, because in a game, most gamers and people typically tend to try to maximize end game on the system. The unbreakable truth of all gamers is that when there is a bug happening and it's exploitable, 90% of the entire population will exploit that and not be the better man and report and try to do the right thing, not with anonymity and not within the game. So that is near impossible. Um, in another project, maybe in a charity project, maybe. But I think to really make this motion go through, it really requires centralization.
Yeah.
And it really requires more often than not education. So could only be passed if there's a whole ton of education, and that this education is to the point of propaganda brainwashing is that um, the proposal, the one who proposed, have to really do a great deal of education in the ground to allow everyone to sacrifice their short-term interests for the greater good. This is not something decentralization is known to be good at. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. Well, let's see.
No, I agree 100%.
Okay. Well,
Amazing. Well, guys, listen, we're rolling up to about 2 hours. We have all of the questions answered. I appreciate all of you guys hanging through. This has been an amazing AMA. This has been an amazing last 2 hours for my morning. I never want to close anything off too quickly. So, Frank, if there's anything that you kind of would like to wrap up and just finish off and close with, the stage is all yours, and then we can kind of close the AMA down in a few minutes once we're all set.
let me just take a quick look at the names on the AMA. I see a lot of them are from my community. I'm just going to, as usual, we are opening up the Bond of Stone mark towards the end of the AMA. So I'm going to turn on the channel in our own server and allow some of the people who participate in this AMA to go into our server now. If you have not spent your Bond of Stone, you should spend it. If you don't have a Bond of Stone mark, go to the Bond of Nature channel at the very top in the Ascension category. Um, take, go to the Bond of Nature channel, tap Hunt, and claim your Bond of Stone mark. As for the rewards tonight, I think we are giving out lunar passes for some of the people who ask questions. I'll go circle back with Yulon and Bambi on the ones to who we pick, the better questions, and then announce it. And then final words would be well, we're airdropping the NFTs tomorrow, so better register your email accounts to our marketplace today to get the free solar NFT fragment. Um, and yeah, that's it. Last note is Expo tournament is this weekend, but next week is the Valerian tournament. We actually have a puck spot opened. The 7 gaming guild teams, well, 6 gaming guild teams and 1 daddy team, and then we have one more slot for public. So we're publicly recruiting Valorant players who can play on the Southeast Asian server. I think it's the Singapore server. For a game. Incredible prize pools, exciting games. I love Counter Strike, so I love Valorant. So yeah, well, participate in these events should you be interested. And once again, thank you all you Apeiron daddies and community and new community members. So quite a few of them. Hope you guys enjoyed this chat. And in the future, we want to do chats that are more interactive. Maybe I know a lot of you don't prefer to speak out in the AMAs, showing your voice or something, but I want to do ones with a live chat where I can interact, where me and the host can interact with the live chat crowds and see and answer some questions or ask for some input regarding. There are 2 inputs. Oh, holy crap! I'll save this for tomorrow. I don't want to take up any more of your time, Bambi. But yes,
No
finally.
worries.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for your sharing me with the Zooverse channel. Final words would be, so how's Zooverse doing nowadays? Actually, I'm really interested in knowing how Zooverse is doing. What's the team doing? What's the community up to? Has there been ups and downs? How you guys been doing before I leave? Would love to learn a bit more.
Yeah, definitely been ups and downs for sure. Like any time in this space, I think every project has had ups and downs. I think right now one of the things that I'm most excited about in Zooverse is really a focus on the community, as you're saying. We've
Mm.
kind of focused a little bit of away from mainly dropping developments in terms of the utility. One of the main things right now is because all of that is in the works and all of it has been in development for a while, like you said, we're making sure that we're trying to drop things at the right time so that they get enough traction and we don't waste the time and the money and the resources that we've put into it. So right
Mm.
now we're kind of transitioning away and getting a little bit more alpha calls going on. So one of the things I've noticed in the Zooverse Discord is there are a lot of crypto calls lately. If you pop in, Zelly is one of the best crypto callers I've seen for a while. Has really, really good understandings of technical analysis in terms of ETH charts, longing, shorting, basic cryptocurrency plays, which is a nice little change in terms of outside of the NFT space because things are a little bit, up and down right now. So we're doing a lot of educational stuff. So one of the main things is each person from the team is going to start not necessarily a weekly conversation, but we are going to be trying and doing at least one or two community discussions per week where we'll do some type of educational thing based on who is leading and what type of interest they're in. So getting a little bit more value and a little bit more of just interest and creating some fun, right? Because we're at a place where it's obviously fun to flip and trade and make money, but I really enjoy talking with people, as you said, right? I really enjoy the AMAs where you can have maybe a demo come live or, have a bunch of people who are interested in shooting the shit coming back and forth and talking about what the game is or what the artwork is and really giving their opinion. So one of our main goals is really starting to engage the community even more than we have been. Because we do have so many things that we're excited to drop in the future that it's really just about making sure that we have this short to medium term goal succeeded so that we can drop the long term goals properly and with enough hype.
Mm. Really need to learn to speak the way you speak, so concise and clear. I tend to squeeze around all the time.
I
Okay,
trust
well,
me.
thank you,
There's some
buddy.
days. My pleasure, dude. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And
Oh,
guys,
well,
as always, thank you all for coming through so much, man. Like I always say it, but it wouldn't be possible for us to do what we do without the community behind. So thank you all so much.
all right. Well, thank you. And until next time, then,
Awesome, guys. We'll be in touch.
have a great day.
Amazing. Yeah, you guys as well. Thank you all. Have a good day wherever you guys are in the world. Peace
All
out.
right. All right.